Another question, again related. What can Iron County do, or are they allowed to do, if we draft an MPUD that would be more strict than state laws provide, besides light pollution and road use? And does this draft of the ordinance, mean that there are pieces that are tougher than state law?
There are pieces of it right now that are tougher than state law. We have left the door open to regulate in areas. In order to go through and do an analysis of every single aspect of this ordinance in anticipation and try to figure out, as a law school exercise, whether we're preempted or not, at this stage up front, I don't think it would be a worthwhile endeavor. It would be very expensive, first of all. I do think we leave the door open to, in this process, let's say the zoning committee or the county board is talking to me or the corporation council and asking, can we require this with regard to buffer zones without feeling as though we are preempted? In that instance, we would go and do the research and come back to the county board and say, yes, you can, or you can't. It's just too hard to imagine how many potential areas there are out there. My point is that we will try to be more strict everywhere we can. But that unfortunately, without spending $100,000, right now, I don't know that we can go through the exercise of determining every single area in which we can.
That was my question. Do you have a couple examples? I know you had mentioned light pollution, and do you have some examples of even just a couple where you've been stricter in this?
Where you think we can be stricter?
No, that in the draft, that's stricter than state law.
Oh, well, those are the only two that come to mind right now in the draft. We're always willing to consider other areas. I think that we're conforming to the limits that we've got with regard to groundwater levels and groundwater quality. I know that we're going farther in terms of buffers.
Is that the 200 feet to 1,200 feet?
Both that and the 1,000 foot. Both of those.
Those are tougher?
Yeah, well, it depends on how they're actually applied. See, that's the thing. We don't have a proposal in front of us, and we haven't made a final decision as to what buffer we will impose, because in each case, the buffer is imposed based on the nature of the project and what the county board sees as the appropriate issue and therefore the appropriate buffer.
So how do you know they're tougher?
Well, they have the ability to be tough. See, that's what I'm explaining. We can't, unless we had the mining proposal in front of us right now, we can't spell out every area that we're going to be tougher than the DNR.
I was just looking for a couple examples, that's all.
Yeah. Well, those are, like I said before, those are the best examples that I gave you earlier, which is the buffers and light trespass and use of roads. It's important that we not go diving whole hog, for example, into water quality, thinking that we might have found a niche that we can regulate, when in fact we are most likely preempted. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm happy to consider other areas if somebody wants to propose some area that they wish we would be stricter than the DNR. There's kind of an oxymoron in the statement, because if the DNR is regulating it, that means we can't be stricter than the DNR. If they're regulating it under the statutory authority, that means it's been preempted by the state. So we want to be as strict as we can where we can. I wish I had more to answer you with, but we have to do a heck of a lot of analysis to figure out a complete list of areas that are preempted and areas that aren't.
I suppose that's my big thing, is where can we be stricter?
Yeah. And we're happy to consider we can through this next process perhaps look at that. If we were to receive, for example, a list of areas, let's say 5 areas, Okay, I don't think I'm out of line to say that the county board would be happy to pay me to look at 5 areas and see whether we are preempted or whether we can be stricter in those areas, if you want to submit something like that.
Maybe we can move on to the next question.
Yeah.
Thank you.